Excellent. Welcome, everybody, to Living in McKenzie County, our inaugural episode. Kicking the podcast off is our theme, which is growing career-ready students for a 21st century workforce. My name is Vawnita Best, City of Watford City, Community and Business Development. My co-host.
My name is Daniel Stenberg. I am the McKenzie County Economic Development Director.
And our first two victims, we're so excited. We have Wayne Heckaman, Director of the Bakken Area Skills Center, and Jim Green, Watford City High School Principal. And before we kick it off with you guys and our subject matter experts today, we were just going to set the table a little bit, not with hors d'oeuvres or anything other than water, but with a little bit of history on our community and where we were 15 years ago. And we're going to spend probably an hour or so talking through all of that and then looking towards the future and the vision of workforce in our area and all of the things that are going on currently and probably many things that are planned for the future. And we just want everybody in the area to know and understand the initiatives that are underway. So with that, I'm just going to set the table a little bit. So Dr. Holan's not with us today, but he is the superintendent for McKenzie County District 1. And when he was hired to come to District 1, the mandate was we have a declining enrollment. We need to figure out how to go from two buildings, our elementary school and our high school, and consolidate into one building, K through 12. Just 3-4 years later, 2008, my son was born. And when we all looked around, people having kids at that time, it looked like that class, they're sophomores now. We're going to be probably 20 to 30 students. And today we have right around 170 sophomores, I believe. That number's been 140, and ticking up. And so that just sets a little bit of where we're at now compared to where we were. And so with that, I think, so we need to cover a couple things. Let's hear from you two just a bit, Wayne and Jim, talking about what you guys do. And then I think Daniel's going to talk a little bit of history about the precursor to the Bakken Area Skills Center. So can you share with us, Wayne, what the Bakken Area Skills Center does today?
Well, thanks for having me. First of all, it's great to be here, and it's a pleasure. The Bakken Area Skills Center is exactly what you kind of talked about at the beginning. It was a grand vision, and providing our students the opportunities to look out and for their career path. And so the Bakken Area Skills Center we opened up, and we're brand new this fall. We have a lot of different program areas for our students to look into their future, and we're excited about building those program areas for our students.
And can you just give us a little background on yourself? Who is Dr. Wayne Heckaman? Where did you grow up?
Oh, boy.
Where else have you been? And when did you start this position?
Oh, boy. So I grew up in New Rockford, North Dakota, and then I navigated out west through Bismarck State College and Dickinson State. Been in education for 22 years and been an administrator for 12 years, and came new to the position at the Bakken Area Skills Center in July.
And why education? Did you know that from kindergarten, or how did you choose education?
Well, good question. I think it's in the family. Both my parents are educators. All of my family, my two older brothers and my sister, are in the education system. And I think it's just natural for me as I grew up in that environment. And so I knew I was going to be in education. I just don't know exactly what capacity. And from that point on of going to higher ed, I just kind of found my journey, and my journey has found me here.
Excellent. Mr. Green, tell us about you.
Well, I'm originally from Wapaton, North Dakota. This is my 12th year, I think, in education, and my 7th out here in Watford City, and 7th in administration. So it's been, my family moved across the state 7 years ago, and it's kind of been a whirlwind since we got here to Watford City. But I've been lucky enough to be the Watford City High School principal for the last 4 or 5 years. and it's been a great experience. So it's been really great to get Dr. Heckaman on board and get the Bakken Area Skills Center open, last January, and just a lot of exciting things going on in Watford City.
Right. And why education?
Well, I found education, I guess, in high school. I was always pretty good at math, and I seemed to always be surrounded by students that weren't as good as math as I was, and I found a lot of value in helping them succeed. So that kind of led me down a path of education, as well as a love for football and wanting to coach and do those kind of things. So that's kind of what pushed me into education to begin with.
Excellent. All right. Well, as we kind of introduced, I've been working with McKenzie County Economic Development for pretty much 8 years now. And before that started, these conversations were going on the education front and how do we have more career-ready students. When I graduated in 2001, the idea was, well, what 4-year college are you going to? Or are you going to do a 2-year college first and then go to a 4-year college? Because if you're going to be successful, you're going to need to move out of North Dakota and you're going to need a 4-year degree. And so it was just that was the default. Well, we've been realizing the past 15 years that not everybody needs a 4-year degree. Student debt can be a crippling thing to have. People starting out with age 22, it's going to dictate a lot of their decisions if they come out with $40,000, $60,000, $100,000 in debt. And then we also don't have a lot of the trades. They're getting paid a lot more than a lot of master's degree people just because of supply and demand. And so obviously the Bakken boom kind of amplified that in our community because we have a lot of blue collar jobs available, but then also just this kind of more national realization that no, actually we don't need everybody to have a 4-year degree. And so coming into economic development, usually economic development is like, how do you bring more businesses into the community? But that really has not been our office's focus for the past 15 years, just because we've got the jobs in the community. We need the workforce. We need the quality of life. And what better things can we do than grow our own workforce instead of having to have them come from outside the community and not really knowing the culture, knowing our weather, having just the support system in place. It's like, what can we do to be growing our own better? And so this conversation has been, this has been happening for a long time, and it still just kind of feels like we're just at the beginning of it too. But I think we've made a lot of good progress. We've still got a lot more ways to go. But really, who's now Senator Patton was the chair of my Job Development Authority Board, the board that I report to. And the idea was we need to do something on this workforce development. And so we got some oil companies together, and we said, what can we do? And we had Mr. Johnsrud, the automation teacher, involved. We had Scott Wisness from the beginning, and we were just kind of talking about these things. What can we do? Williston State College was very involved, Train ND. Bismarck State would kind of come along later just because they have such a heavy presence and energy. But these conversations started with kind of quarterly, we call them skills initiative meetings. And you were part of many of those too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Green.
That's one of the most exciting things I think with the Bakken Area Skills Center is this is, decades of work from a lot of people who are here a lot longer than I have been now coming to fruition. So it's exciting. So.
Yeah. And so I know Dr. Holen obviously has been pushing that strongly as well. The 2019 legislative session, we were asking for funds from the state legislature. Nothing panned out. But then Governor Burgum decided to make it a big push for the 2021 legislative session, and he was able to get quite a bit of money for the state. And thanks to the work that we had been doing for the past 6 years, we had nearly a shovel-ready project in place. I mean, we were looking at different buildings that we could potentially move into, different things like that, but nothing was going to be close to the high school. You'd have to have kids commuting 15 minutes across town. And in the education world, that just...
Not feasible. from a practicality standpoint, the building kind of had to be where it is. That was our number one choice. And there were some different factors that went into that, a lot more dirt work than maybe some other sites. But I can tell you now that we're in our first full year of operation, I couldn't imagine it being anywhere else.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic to just kind of see it all a part of the campus. It's a very prominent location. Got a workover rig up there too, and then people's like, oh, that's what that building is. Different things like that. I'm just so excited about the potential. I mean, what you've already done in the first year of it, but then what it's going to be for the next 50 years for our community. I think it's great. You got
Yes,
something?
no,
Go for it.
do you have more? Well, I just had a thought, and the thing about my thoughts is I have to put them out there before they disappear. So,
Squirrel.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry.
Squirrel. That's a theme in our office. So if we have people tuning in and their basic level or understanding of education is very minimal, and let's just say, they're a similar profile to myself where graduated before CTE was a thing. Can either one of you or both of you kind of, because Wayne is the CTE branch, Jim, you're the non-CTE branch. Can you kind of explain, as a student coming in and starting to work on their 4-year career plans, this, that, and the other, what options are available to them, and how do you kind of lay that blueprint out so kids really know, do I want to take the CTE option? How do you talk through that if there's a parent listening and just kind of curious about what their kids are up to as they're working through their career exploration?
Yeah, great question. And I think Dr. Green and I will kind of take this one together because I think a lot of it's a team concept. We really have to work hard and close with the school districts, not just McKenzie County, but as a regional component, all of the school districts in our area. But we really lean on the relationship with our building principals, the counselors, and in that aspect to help the students really try to look at their journey. And so I know Dr. Green can talk a little bit about the journey of working with the counselors, the career path, and the choice ready aspect of things, right, Dr. Green?
Yes, and my wife is Dr. Green. I'm just Mr. Green. So I appreciate it. Dr. Heckaman, who earned a doctorate degree. I'm just Mr. Green. But
Mr. Green, Mr.
a lot of times I'll just let people go with that. And, my wife and
And then you'll get home.
correct. She's like, you should correct people. So at any rate, Mr. Green. So working to integrate the Bakken Area Skills Center, North Dakota has a Choice Ready initiative. Started maybe 10 years ago now, I think. It's pretty innovative in the world of education as far as across the nation. A lot of school accountability comes down to tests and testing and usually math and reading. And that was really outlined in some national legislation. But something changed in the national legislation, and North Dakota was able to do some innovative things. And one of them is our Choice Ready initiative, which essentially, to not get so far into the weeds on it, we want kids to graduate with enough experiences and coursework to be able to make a decision about what the rest of their life is going to be. Are they going to follow a post-secondary education pathway, enter the workforce, or the military? Are kind of the areas that have been outlined by the state of North Dakota. So part of that is a 4-year rolling plan. Every year kids meet with counselors and they set out the next 4 years of their life, really, in terms of education. So when you're in the spring of your 8th grade year, you're going to plan your 4 years of high school. Then you're in the spring of your 9th grade year, you plan the next 3 years of high school and your first year post-secondary. So it's really about getting kids to think about what they want to do and what that career path looks like for them, or the next path in education. So the exciting part that we're working on at Watford City High School is, typically you have 4 English credits that you have to get, so you take an English class every year, okay? Well, what we're doing is trying to accelerate those required courses for graduation. So the majority of our classes, the majority of your grad requirements, you can get done in the first 2 years of high school. And a couple of the reasons we do that, the last actual state testing that we have to do is in the spring of your sophomore year. So we're trying to front load those academics to try to get you as high of a test score as we can by the time you're a sophomore. And then after that, we're really shifting our focus to those Choice Ready initiatives and trying to help you figure out what it is you want to do with your life. So if that's post-secondary, we've gotten more dual credit opportunities this year than ever before. We're trying to integrate as many dual credit opportunities at the Bakken Area Skills Center as well. If it's workforce, we have a ton of classes and internships and different pathways in different areas at the Bakken Area Skills Center that you can start to pursue those areas so that when you graduate, we feel like you're going to have a leg up on everyone else. If you're entering the workforce, you can start the day after graduation. If you're entering a college, we're hoping, in a few years that you can have your first 2 years of college done by the time you graduate. That's our goal down the road. So it's really exciting what we have going on, and it's all about helping kids find what it is they want their life to be like. And sometimes it's difficult. They're 14, 15, 16. I don't know if anybody had their life perfectly planned out. But I always tell the students and parents and anybody listening as well, knowing that you don't like something is just as important as knowing that you do. For the longest time, kids would throw out, well, I'm going to be a trucker, or I'm going to be a welder, because they thought there was a lot of jobs in it, and whatever, I'd just do that. Well, now we have a CDL program. Now we have a welding program. Go try welding. You might hate welding. So better to know now when you're 16 to make a career path shift than just come up with an idea and go ahead and do it. And find out later in life when it's too late maybe to
Well,
make a
and
switch.
that is a plus for the person, so that they're not spending a lot of money on education that they're not going to be using. But it's also good for our workforce, is if we can get people into the workforce sooner rather than later, because we're so short right now.
Mm-hmm.
So before we hop on to a little more of the CTE tracks and pathways, Jim, you briefly touched on it, and I think if we go into a little more about this, because the school district has definitely shifted its position to be able to deliver dual credit.
Yep.
But do you want to talk a little bit about the grant that helped you prepare teachers to be able to provide dual credit?
I saw it on the notes, and I was trying to remember if it was 2 or 3 years ago. There was a Choice Ready grant. Actually, the state of North Dakota and DPI had some COVID funding, and they utilized that to provide a series of grants with the emphasis on increasing our Choice Ready numbers. As a new initiative, it's kind of been, a lot of times schools don't really know what it is or how to approach it. So our Choice Ready numbers as a state were fairly low, and they wanted to boost those up. So one of the things that we decided to focus on was dual credit. So we were able to write a grant for $20,000 to provide $4,000 or $5,000 scholarships for teachers, to be able to get credentialed to be a dual credit instructor, and that did change, 15 years ago now. Used to be any teacher, as long as I think if they had a master's degree in anything, they could teach dual credit. But about 15 years ago, they changed it. So you have to have a master's degree or a minimum of 18 graduate credits in the content area, so it becomes a lot more difficult to find teachers, with a master's degree in chemistry that's going to be at your high school teaching dual credit chemistry. But we've been able to find quite a few of those people and provide a little bit of funding for them to go back and do that. So now we are offering, I want to say, close to 7 or 8 different dual credit courses. We have dual credit psychology, 2 dual credit English courses, dual credit college algebra, calculus. We're going to have a lab science. We do have a dual credit chemistry teacher, actually. We're working on anatomy. Next year, we'll probably have a social studies as well. So some of the idea is, if you finish your high school grad requirements, mostly, I think you might have a couple left over by the time you're a junior. You can start working on your generals of your 4-year degree if that's what you want to do. And if you're pursuing a 2-year degree, there's a real opportunity that you might be able to finish that at the same time you can graduate high school. So
Has this replaced advanced placement, kind of, or would you say?
yes, ideally it would. We still have a few AP classes. AP, the issue with AP versus dual credit, when you pass that class, you get those credits there on your transcript from whatever institution is supporting that dual credit course. For us, it's always Williston State. That's who we work with. So you have a Williston State transcript with those credits on. The problem with AP is, one, depending on your score, now you could complete the class, get an A in the class, but when you take the AP exam, which is extremely difficult, if you don't get a 3 or higher, you're not getting any credit. And then depending on the institution, a lot of times they don't want to give you those credits. So if you take AP Calculus, you get a 4 on the exam, which is a very good score on a very hard test. They might not give you calculus credit. They'll give you math elective credit because they want you to take calculus from their math department. So it's not a guarantee that the institution will grant those credits. And amongst other things, it's just we are leaning much more into the dual credit than the AP stuff.
We like our North Dakota University system.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so we've definitely talked about the non-CTE. Wayne, can you give us a crash course in CTE, and then maybe even just keep on going and talk a little bit about the pathways that the Bakken Area Skills Center.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So we're learning and growing with all of our program pathways, and I think that comes back from listening to everybody's vision and really bringing it all together. And I think the biggest thing is listening to industry as well. Business and industry has an impactful opportunity to help us grow our opportunities for our students. And so we're actively listening on how to do that. So if you come up to the Bakken Area Skills Center, you're gonna see our beautiful facility, but you're also gonna see each of our areas up there has a unique program space. And so we have 4 beautiful classroom and shop bays that have 4 programs for us. We have automation program in pathways there for our students to learn and grow within that specific career opportunities, along with a welding program. As we move forward, we've just this fall built a heavy equipment operators program, which is really exciting. We started that from the ground up, and we're looking to expand that and provide our students those opportunities. And then we go into building trades, health careers, and CDL. So we have a lot of opportunities for our students, and all of these opportunities provide immense program pathways. And when I look into the program pathways, it's about getting into the door of those career opportunities, and then the journey starts from there. We got great instructors. All of our instructors are either come from the education system or they come from industry. And so it's a unique blend of diversity that we have in our classrooms. And so far, these first 4 months have been exciting. And what I would really encourage everybody to come up and do is take a tour. When you're up there on our campus, you see something special when you walk into the classrooms and you walk into the bays and you see our teachers working with our students. You really walk away with a powerful moment to saying that our future is really bright, because you see the opportunities and the engagement going on, and that's, as you walk away, it's something special to see that.
Well, and can you just talk about Bakken Area Skills Center? Is it Watford City High School? Is it a different entity? And do you have a network of other entities around you?
So we are a regional center. The Bakken Area Skills Center is owned by McKenzie County School District. We rent the space. We have a governing board. And so our governing board is 10-member schools. And so from our 10-member schools, we have an outreach. And from that outreach is our governing board is our vision and mission is to provide as many opportunities that we can throughout the region. So we have a tremendous local reach for our students. So our goal and our mission is, what we do locally is we want to do outreach to our surrounding communities, all the way up to Crosby, all the way over to Stanley, Newtown, Mandaree, Alexander. We have that geographical outreach, and so we're very excited to take the vision by so many from before, like Mr. Green and Daniel and Vawnita, you mentioned. This has been a vision in the making, and to really step forward, and we're just at the start of it. It's an exciting journey.
And so then the students from those 10-member schools, they either come to your space, or is there virtual options?
Yeah, right now we have a hybrid. We have some online hybrid options. We are working, and we've actually had hands-on days. we've had some of our instructors go out to those schools and meet with those students and provide a hands-on opportunity and with those students. Just this last week, from our heavy equipment operators program, just to give you an example, we had 33 students from the Bakken Area Skills Center, not just local McKenzie, Watford City students, but students that have taken the classes from around the region, travel all the way to Bobcat in Bismarck for a hands-on day. A full day of hands-on at their training center in Bismarck. Great opportunity for our students, not just locally, but regionally. Those that are taking the online class to get over, train on state-of-the-art equipment in a state-of-the-art facility, see and visit with Bobcat employees and see the career opportunities. And that right there is an example of the opportunities that we can present to the students to look at those career pathways.
Awesome.
So kind of going back and reminiscing a bit, and then I know I'm likely the oldest one at the table, so I might be aging myself a little bit too. But let's walk back to when we were getting out of school and the employers were really in the driver's seat. They had a stack of applications and they could sort through that. So let's fast forward to today. We have four generations in the workforce today. Very different, unique in their institutional backgrounds, their skill sets, their education. And definitely we lean into this career-ready aspect. Can you both talk a little bit about the focus on career-ready, what that means, and what employers can do to participate in helping grow career-ready skills and mindset?
Yeah. You know, that's a loaded question. I'm not exactly sure if I'll be able to answer all that, but I think when Mr. Green and we look at career ready, there's an immense amount of opportunity out there, and technology has been able to provide those opportunities at a different capacity than what we grew up with, right? We didn't have the online opportunities to learn and grow as students when we were in high school. Those opportunities now exist. We didn't have VR goggles to be able to have a virtual reality session or opportunity. Looking at a career and looking at how to maneuver or operate equipment, or looking at the landscape of what that job would look like. So technology has really allowed us a tremendous opportunity to grow our own. We talk about growing our own in our region, and to provide, I guess I want to step back here. Part of what we need to look at is to learn from industry, right? The industry has changed, and business has changed, and not all of our employees have the 50 applications sitting on their desk anymore. So when we talk about why is that, we try to think about what opportunities can we present for the students to learn immediately, right? We had to go to college to learn our craft. Now we're trying to have students to learn their craft at the high school level, and so that's what we're promoting. A different way of a skill set early on in their education career, and that's our goal and that's our focus right now. We're shifting that mindset, right?
I kind of joke about it, but I think very seriously. We look at our community, we look at our housing shortage, we look at when companies look at expansion, or even schools looking at a capital project, and there's sole bidders or no bidders because there's a lack of skill. We kind of have to grow our own and build our way out of our own situation right now. So
100%. You know, I don't know the exact stat, but I know when we look at hiring teachers, you know, your best bet is hiring people who are from here. You know what I mean? They have ties to the community. Generally, they have family here. They like you said, they know the culture. They know how things work here. So your best bet at hiring folks are people who are already from here. So that's one of the things too, with the Bakken Area Skills Center and Watford City High School, both, we're really looking at building up our Golden Path solutions and our Compass footprint, which is essentially a software that can tie businesses to students and students to internship opportunities. Because another idea here, or another vision, when we have kids finishing their grad requirements early, they still need credits and they still need electives, things to fill out their diploma. But I envision a day where every junior will do 2 to 3 job shadows in a year, and every senior is doing an internship, on the job experience. Because when you talk about career ready, I think, you need to have some level of academic knowledge. You need to have some level of skill in the actual area, but then you also need to have those soft skills of how do you actually act at a job, as a millennial. I see the millennials on here, and that was the biggest thing, is these stinking millennials, all they do is spend their whole day on their phone at work and all that kind of stuff. Well, I would rather you get fired from a CWE position when you're 16 or 17 in high school than you lose your job and not be able to pay rent. Those are the kind of experiences that I think we have an opportunity to provide in this community, because our work-based learning and our CWE had such a storied history. And I know it's probably next on our list, but we've been doing work-based learning at Watford City High School since 1968. Every year that I've been here, I'll get emails and phone calls from different administrators around the state wanting to set up a CWE program, a cooperative work experience. And Mr. Wisness, I'm sure, would tell you the same thing. And we've been doing it since 1968. That's incredible. And says a lot about our community and a lot about our local businesses that they want to partner with the school, because it is mutually beneficial, but it is work on their end too. We're combining to educate the student in the way of work. So that's an incredible resource and an incredible program that we have here locally that I think really helps develop that career-ready stuff, because we can teach them and talk to them and show them as much as we possibly can. But until you actually go out there and work a job, you don't really know how any of that stuff's going to work. So that's what I'd say about career ready.
Going back to your comment about the employer used to be in the driver's seat, I remember walking into Hot Stuff Pizza, which was by what now is door 204, and now it's that building has been taken down. But I was like, hey, I'd like to work here. And they're like, oh, we don't have a need for you. And I went to another employer, and they were like, yeah, I don't think so. Nope. And after college, even, I applied for about 70 or 80 jobs before I got the one that I wanted. It took a long time. It was a painstaking process. But I am very thankful. First International did hire me. It was a little bit different at the time. It was called VOE, but vocational education. But now it's the CWE, or cooperative work experience. First International, I was able to work for them during my senior year. And that was super valuable to kind of get experience in a professional office environment. It was one of those catch-22s after college. It's like, I want a job. And they're like, well, what experience do I have? And it's like, well, I'm just starting out. And so I don't have experience. And so, but I was able to say, well, I worked for these 9 months of my senior year at a professional office. They took me around. I think I paid $6 an hour, which was good enough at the time. Minimum wage was $5.15, I think, so it was above minimum wage. But it was just a very valuable experience to be in the experience instead of just learning from a book.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about that? So there's definitely the history, and I think, Daniel, you chased the history all the way back to Shirlene Lawler.
No, I was a neighbor of mine, Shirlene. She said that when she was graduating, and this was in the 1960s, when she was a high school senior, she worked for a doctor's office underneath the Larson Service Drug. That building is still here, but the downstairs office is no longer here. But she got good, valuable experience. We hear other people talk about their experience at Hagen's, or a body shop. Throughout the years, the financial institutions have been big players, grocery stores, daycare, all of those places. It can be a win-win situation. Like you said, it does take work on the employer side. I have my first CWE student this year, and it is, you kind of have to be smart about what kind of tasks can be accomplished in kind of a 2-hour block during the day. You want to make it meaningful, but it can be a win-win if designed right.
So I think it was probably, well, definitely in the 80s and 90s. At the time, it was the CWE VOE program.
VOE, yep.
And at that time, there were 2 tracks. There was business and there was agriculture. And I mean, most things would fit into those 2 tracks. But can you guys talk a little bit today that's expanded? Can you talk about what those opportunities look like today? They're much different than they were 30 years ago.
Well, the sky's the limit on that. And so we have 2 work-based learning coordinators. We have a local work-based learning coordinator at the Bakken Area Skills Center, and we have a regional work-based learning coordinator. And their roles are to work with the school districts, work with McKenzie County School District and those counselors and those students, and give them an opportunity for work-based learning experience or cooperative work experience. And so they're a little bit different. But we have more businesses signed up than ever before to provide those opportunities for those students. And I think it's because of the workforce challenges, right? They're wanting to take on a job shadow or a work-based or a cooperative learning experience student to see if it'll be a good fit, to see if they would like that career, and maybe they can have a working relationship with that student and maybe get them to look at a career and then come back and even work at their business. So we have a really strong local presence. Right now, we're looking to expand that on a regional. So that's what the regional work-based learning coordinator, that's that role and responsibility, and she's working really hard to go out to our communities such as Alexander, Crosby, Tioga, Stanley, to really engage those businesses with those local school districts and those students, present them with those opportunities. Because I think we all can agree, if you can get in and have that hands-on experience or that job shadow and really see the day-to-day workings of a business, and you either like it or you don't, some decisions can be made early on that can really help you with your journey.
And I know it's not the only one, but like Vicki Munson at Cornerstone Bank, the president of Cornerstone Bank.
Yep.
How did she start? As a VOE student.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's sometimes that's the long game. We've got employers who are willing to invest. It might be a little bit of short-term pain to get it all set up. I mean, to get these programs set up, they do take work. But boom, you get a few future presidents out of the deal. That might be worth it.
Now, so if we have employers out there listening, and maybe they're not even aware of the opportunity, I think several people in Watford City, Jill Leach was one of them, State CTE came out and they did a workshop, I think it was 2 days, a workshop for employers. And really we wanted to better understand what the CWE program looks like for those employers. But if people are thinking in their mind, we're an energy company, our insurance won't let us employ individuals under 18 years old. Can you talk a little bit about some of the caveats that are carved out for CWE contracts or work-based learning contracts and how that might open some opportunities for them to connect with students and build a talent pipeline?
You know, there's always barriers, right? There's always barriers for a company as they consider working with our students. But our role is to listen and figure out what are solutions to the barriers that they might encounter. And so every industry is going to be a little bit different with those barriers, in trying to figure out how can we get a student in. It might even be a barrier with job shadow. It might be a barrier with CWE or the work-based learning. Every situation is going to be a little bit different, Vawnita. So I'd ask for them to call in to us as the Bakken Area Skills Center, reach out to us, and let's open up that conversation, sit down and really decide and figure out how can we find a solution to get these students into your business so that it can be a win-win for everybody. So I didn't exactly answer that question, but want to invite everybody to come out because every situation is going to be a little bit different with their barriers.
And I think you did answer it
Yeah.
because I think the assumption is we can't do it if
Yeah.
they're not 18, which
Yep.
is not
It's
accurate.
It's not accurate.
And the Bakken Area Skills Center does have a website that you
We
can
do.
easily
Yep.
find on a Google
Yep.
search, and you do have people dedicated to helping them
Absolutely.
understand
Yep.
the opportunities for them and for the students.
Yep.
What do you have, Daniel?
Well, I mean, I think we want to have more conversations, maybe specifically on the CWE in the future.
Yep.
Maybe bring in a student who's currently doing it, someone who's went through the process, Jill Leach, who's working on it day in and day out.
Yep.
I mean, I think this has been a nice, good general overview of career readiness. You got something else to say?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, CWE has been traditionally a senior level 2 hour a day type of experience. But now with the Bakken Area Skills Center, with having 2 full-time work-based learning coordinators, we're really looking to expand that even, to longer periods of time and more earlier exposure to different things. Even a 1-day job shadow somewhere it can be incredibly impactful for students. So we're just really looking to bridge that gap between students and employers. Put them in touch with each other and try to get our students ready to be the future employees.
Yeah.
Like Daniel said, I think we plan on having an episode specifically on CWE closer to when that hiring season happens. But can you talk more about, because if I'm a parent of a sophomore, so, and Daniel and I both serve on the CTE Career Advisory Committee, so we probably have quite a bit more insight than the average parent would. But can you kind of talk through things that maybe parents should be asking their kids about, from resume building when they're doing that, to if they're looking at participating, that timeline for those interviews, the software or the platform that you work off of for that? Can you talk through some of those?
Yeah. So the freshmen this year, the class of 2027, I believe, 2028 actually, class of 2028 will be the first cohort that will be able to get through their required classes a little bit quicker. So those are the kids that are going to, by the time they're a junior, they're going to have a lot of decisions to make. So those are kind of the cohort of students where we're really pushing the compass and the 4-year plans. So those have been integrated with Are You Ready ND, which will be integrated through Power School. It already is. So we're looking at how to do those better and get those to parents in a more clear way than we ever have before. Before it was kind of something we did at school, and that was it. So now, because we have so many more opportunities and so much more flexibility for students, we are getting that information out to parents sooner. So you can look for that probably here in the second quarter. We're going to be getting kids into the Golden Path Solutions, into the Compass, and then sending those 4-year plans home for parents. So the biggest thing I would say for parents is talk to your students about what their life is going to look like. It doesn't necessarily need to be what specific job and who are you going to work for and where are you going to live. It's just like, get kids to think about when they're 30 years old, what do they want their life to be? Because some kids, they get so tied up into a specific pathway, and then when something goes wrong, everything is kaput. So, start getting them thinking about what their life is going to be like and what maybe avenues they want to go down. Healthcare is a broad field. There's everything you can do in healthcare. So I've had 8th graders in class who tell me they're going to be a cardiac thoracic surgeon. And you go, well, that's very specific for a 14-year-old, But even just, I'd like to do something in healthcare. Perfect. We can start putting you in those positions. Our health science pathway is probably one of our most well-developed. Julie Dragseth does an excellent job with that. And I've even learned a lot of stuff about healthcare positions. Surgery tech. I believe it's a 2-year program. You are in the surgery room. You're not the surgeon, but you also don't have to go to school for 10 years and take out $250,000 of student loans. You have 2 years, surgery tech, you can be in the room for open heart surgery. And it's like, this is unreal to me. I didn't even know this was an option, And I'm a high school principal. And I learned this like 2 years ago because, our health careers class goes through and looks at all of these different things. So for parents, it's starting to figure out what direction that student's life wants to take. What are they thinking? Do they want to go to college? Some kids, by the time they get to their 9th grade year, go, I literally cannot stand one more second of school. And that's fine. So then those are the kinds of things you need to start looking at is, do I want to go to the workforce right away? Do I want to go to college? How much college? And those kind of things that you can start taking a look at, because that's going to set what those next 4 years are going to look like, And it's never too late to switch, but the sooner you know, the better, because then you can kind of plan around it.
Yeah.
So,
And I really just want to give a shout out to the school district, Mr. Green, his staff, Dr. Holland, the school board, for really being innovative, thinking ahead, and looking at the master schedule and making adjustments so that students can have a full opportunity their junior, senior year to explore these opportunities. Not every school does that across the state of North Dakota, but I will tell you this, there's more and more school districts that are looking and calling McKenzie County School District saying, how did you guys do that? How did you come innovative? We have more students taking block classes than we've ever had before, and that's because of their foresight to adjust the master schedule, to open up those opportunities. More students taking CWE, more students taking those job shadow opportunities, because you know what? The junior and senior year has opened up the opportunity for that, right, Mr. Green?
yeah, absolutely.
And that speaks volumes right there. We can't do what we do at the CTE Center up on the hill there without the collaboration and the innovativeness coming from the high schools. And so a huge shout out, and they're leading the way, and there's more school districts looking to follow, and that's only going to help the opportunities for these juniors and seniors look at that differently. So
I think all of this, on the high school side, we've kind of really covered. But for those people that are already post the high school experience, there are some things, and let me know if there's other things that we don't have, but that I'm missing. But GED, we've got the GED program through the Williston State Adult Learning Center. We've got the English language learners. I think it's full, and they're looking for maybe another class because it's so popular around here. And then a certified medical assistant is happening through Bismarck State with the lab. A lot of it's online, but the lab happens at Bakken Area Skills. And then the LPN program, the Licensed Practical Nurse program through Williston State. Obviously, you can't just join that anytime. And you have some prerequisites, but talk with Williston State if that's of interest. And it's because that training can happen here locally. We don't have to travel thousands of miles for a lot of this training.
Correct. I think our health sciences was one of our, like I said, our most well-developed and probably most ready to go. Down the road, our goal is for our students to be able to stay here in McKenzie County, get their LPN degree, and graduate with their LPN and their high school diploma at the same time. And with, the great partners up at Williston State and their foundation, our students should not have to leave town or spend $1. And you can get a diploma, 2 diplomas on the same day. That's the goal. And what's really exciting is we're starting to replicate that in other areas. I know with automation in Bismarck State, they're trying to get more and more of their program here. I don't know if we'll be able to get all of it, 2 years, but maybe. Even if you can get 1 year of your automation program done while you're still here and then spend the second year in Bismarck, what an incredible opportunity. Because, as everyone knows who's gone to college, it's way cheaper staying at home with your parents, rather than having to get your own apartment and pay rent and do all that kind of stuff. So, I think the economics of it really makes sense. And especially in the medical pathway, and I think in the automation pathway, we could probably do it as well. But so like our students will get their CNA as soon as they turn 16. They can get a job working at the hospital, earning money and working at an employer while they're continuing to get their LPN. And I'm guaranteed they can just move right up with their LPN. And the best part about the medical pathway is you can keep adding certifications. So we're trying to replicate that in our other areas as well. And I have no doubt that, with our post-secondary partnerships and with Dr. Heckaman's leadership, I think sky's the limit.
So you kind of cracked the door open just a little bit. I know it's in its infancy stage, so maybe there's things you can talk about, maybe there's things you can't. What can you tell us about Grand Energy?
Well, it is a new affiliation with us, and Grand Energy is an affiliation through Bismarck State College to bring that coursework to the Bakken Area Skills Center. So it is very new. We're actively planning and prepping to bring a petroleum technology program to Bismarck State College as early as fall 25, improve some of our other coursework and program areas through automation so that's exciting because we need those partnerships. We need that help. We can't do it alone, and it's always a team concept. And so Bismarck State, Wilson State have been a important part of where we're at today with the Bakken Area Skills Center. But just as important as McKenzie County School District, they played a major role in where our programs are at today because of their staff. And a lot of our staff just rolled over into the Bakken Area Skills Center, and what they've developed throughout the years has definitely played a huge role on the early success of where we're at today.
Yeah, I'd say Scott Wisness deserves a huge thanks for getting everything rolling. We wouldn't have been able to roll out as successfully as we have without his work for, really his whole career here. But I mean, definitely the last few years, he's done a lot to make sure we get everything going. And he was able to find a lot of these instructors. The only one we were short on was automotive.
Automotive, yeah.
Was the only one we were short on. We actually had someone, and it just didn't work out. So we were just that close to being completely full, which is incredible considering it opened in the middle of the year last year. And some of the staff, didn't start till July 1, and it was, I don't know. It's been pretty fast and furious, but it's been exciting, I think.
Yeah. And a huge shout out, just like Mr. Green said, to Scott Wisness, all of our staff. The staff up there is amazing. And I encourage everybody to come up, take tours, and see how amazing they are day in and day out of working with those students hands-on. And of course, our governing board and our school district, and of course you two sitting across the chairs from us. You guys have been a huge part of where we're at today, and I want you guys to know how thankful we are for your leadership and the ability for you guys to sit at the table, talk with us, give us ideas, and share in the success that where we're at today. So thank you too.
Thank you, guys. I may be taking some words out of Mr. Green's mouth, but we sat you down 2 years ago on a project we were working with you on, and you talked about the school district. I mean, we were in rapid growth, multi-digit growth for a decade plus. And you talked about really struggling through some of those years, but into a period in time of thriving now. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because when we look to each other in the shout outs, let's talk a little bit about the hard times, because they forged a really great opportunity that we're in now. So can you talk about that a little bit?
For sure. I mean, my first year here would have been the fall of 2018. I kind of came out here as I wanted to get into administration. I took the AD job. I didn't really know a lot about what I was getting into, but within the first week of school, we had 300 more students district-wide than we were anticipating. We didn't have enough buses. We didn't have enough desks. We didn't have enough classrooms. And it was we were literally just trying to have school. Like, that was the goal. Can we just survive? And now, through the generosity of the community and our several building projects, hard work of Dr. Holland and our school board to provide the facilities that we needed to be able to now really thrive. And I think the Bakken Area Skills Center is a great example of that. Is now, instead of just trying to have school, now we're having school well, and we're doing it well. And the opportunities that our students have, I really are second to none. Not only in the state, but I'd really venture to say nationwide. If you can dream it, you can do it in Watford City High School and McKenzie County, really, which is so incredible to be part of. It's meaningful work. So it's been really, really great to be.
I just want to echo that. So the other day at the Bakken Area Skills Center, we get a lot of tours. And what's happening right now is we're getting a lot of tours from businesses, bringing their potential candidates to showcase what they have to offer for their families and their students. And so the other day, Mr. Green was up, and we were given a tour. And at the very end of the day we said our goodbyes, and we said the exact same thing: is if you can dream it, you can do it here in McKenzie County, in the school district, and Bakken Area Skills Center, and what we have to offer here. And so well said. And that was a great moment for a business, walking a potential family and a potential employee through the school system.
Yeah, the potential employee and the manager from the company were like, "Can we come back to high school?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. Like Dr. Heckaman said, go out to the Bakken Area Skills Center, see what they have out there, and you'd be amazed. You know, the medical pathway with their I always call them robots.
Yep.
They're dummies that you can actually put IVs in. You can set on the program that make them breathe and do all sorts of different symptoms. They're pretty incredible. You know, the heavy equipment operators are going to have their own sandbox now, so kids will be out there in a bobcat and a mini excavator actually getting to dig in the dirt. The welding shop is a full-on welding shop. Building trades is making sheds and tiny houses and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's incredible what our kids have access to. And I sometimes think, man, wish I could go back and do it again.
But I think it's so exciting to see it, because 30 years ago, you know, there were just limited opportunities, limited exploration, limited realization. And so through the eyes of my sophomore, as an 8th grader, he was doing a career shadow. And I remember he said, "Mom, I want to work for John Deere. I want to shadow that." So in junior high, the school's aligning his opportunity to go up to Gooseneck, explore that. He comes back as a freshman. He's taking Project Lead the Way.
Yep, PLTW.
It essentially kind of an engineering brain trust problem solving. And he learned he does not want to be an engineer. So that was incredibly helpful. So I feel like our students are just so blessed with that exploration opportunity and that skills development. It's exciting. It's very exciting. And from a community alignment piece, our employers, our school district, our community, it's about communicating, it's about collaboration and continued alignment and calibration of that. It's an exciting time. Do we want to talk about the future at all?
Absolutely.
What's next?
Future's always bright. So Mr. Green kind of hit on a few things. Every day is an exciting day up at the Bakken Area Skills Center and locally in the school district. But right now we're actively working to build out our training, outside training site for our HEO program. And a lot of this goes back to the community support, regional support, business, industry support, and a ton of individuals that want to see this happen. And we don't get to where we're at today without people with a vision and setting forth a story, talking about our story, and then putting things into place, implementing it, and coming, having it go into action. So as early as hopefully this week, we got some things rolling in up at the Bakken Area Skills Center with some donation to some Connex boxes, working on some equipment donation. Our goal is to have our heavy equipment operators, students, actively working on equipment out at our training site here as early as the spring. And so those are exciting. Those are exciting opportunities. Our welding program, we just got our ventilation system installed here within the last couple weeks. That is full up and running. So the kids are, oh man, the sparks are flying in there and the smoke is rolling. And so that's good to see. Our health science program, again, Mr. Green touched on it. I say state of the art. And so it's, and that's a partnership from McKenzie Health, Wilson State, of helping make that happen. And so that's kind of where the future is. The future is to bring petroleum technology, working with the energy industry and building that program and that platform for our students to explore their horizons. So that's very exciting. And we're always looking to evolve, looking to enhance our current coursework, current opportunities for our students. That's going to be never ending for the future of the Bakken Area Skills Center. And then working with the local school district, there's still programs that we're going to look to transfer over. Still programs that are very strong at the high school level there that we want to roll over and transition over. So that's exciting too. And I know there's a lot of things I'm leaving out, but every day is going to be a continued journey. And anything else I leave out? And
I don't think so. I mean, I think you covered it pretty well. For the future of Watford City High School, it's going to continue to work for the best possible outcomes for our students. And by incorporating the Bakken Area Skills Center, accelerating through some of those grad requirements, we figured out one of the biggest, I shouldn't say we figured out, we are approaching one of the biggest problems in education, which is the schedule, in a different manner that's going to allow us to be a lot more flexible to provide what students need. So that's very exciting. And I think as we continue, as that freshman cohort continues to get through, those opportunities are going to be much better aligned and ready and available for them. So it's continuing to add more things. And as we continue to grow and get more and more students, it's just more and more opportunities are available. Just today I was in a meeting about a science bowl team. We've never had a science bowl team because nobody's ever been interested. We got 17 kids who want to do the science bowl. So we're adding that. And it seems like almost on a daily basis now. It's what new thing are we doing now? So it's just exciting to be a part of. And what's I think the real crux of the whole thing is the community support and the way in which the community all works together. I give a lot of tours of facilities because we are extremely blessed in terms of facilities. But one of the best things I always say when I go through the Rough Rider, I go, this is a microcosm of how Watford City works. The city and the county built it. The park board manages and runs it, and the school is the main user. And I don't know many communities where those entities work well at all together, but let alone well enough together to have a facility like the Rough Rider. And the Bakken Area Skills Center is really no different. About 50% of the funding was from the state, but the other 50% was raised locally through generous donors of political subdivisions, private donors, private companies, public companies, all kinds of people came together to build the Bakken Area Skills Center. And what we have now is just an incredible building that houses some incredible opportunities for our students. And again, without the community support and without all these different entities working together for the betterment of not only our students, but our citizens as a whole, none of it happens. So to me, that's the most amazing part about Watford City, McKenzie County, is just the way in which people set their own egos, their own agendas aside for the betterment of the people here. And what more do you want in a community, right? So
I feel like that was your stump speech right
That's
there.
it.
That was
That
perfect. That was amazing. Okay, so if we have employers, look up the Bakken Area Skills Center online.
Yep.
Make the phone call. You'll
Absolutely.
get connected. How about parents? Parents that really want to be ahead of their kids, exploration or be a part of it and have that conversation around the supper table. Who can they contact?
Best person at the high school is probably the student's counselor. Rachel Michael is last name's A through L, Mr. Thorson M through Z. But I would get in touch with the student or the school counselor. We start having those conversations, and I would say look for more information coming your way from us as well as we continue to develop that mechanism, I guess, for sharing that information and having those things. We're planning on maybe a little different setup for spring conferences that would allow some more conversation on that. Not to derail too far, but spring conferences at the high school level, by that point in time, just about every conversation's already been had if there's any issues. So we get 15% of parents to come to spring conferences. It's pretty low. So we're looking at changing that into a conversation like this, where rather than coming and talking about your grades or whatever, you could sit down with somebody from the school and talk about, your 4-year plan and what are your career goals and what are different things that we can do now to set you up for that. So we're working on making some things more meaningful for parents and students, but it's brand new.
Okay, so these are random.
Yep.
I keep getting asked this. When is the cultural fair this year?
Cultural fair will also be in the spring around that conference time, so that's where we're still trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. I believe it's right around March 25th, if I can pull that number or that date out of my head. But
And
yes,
piggybacking with the
with
parent
the
teacher.
conferences.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Whether or not they're traditional or in this new format, it'll be at the same time.
Okay, excellent. And then I just have one thing, Wayne. I just have to point this out. Your new Rockford Rockets. Are you in a
Yes.
co-op now, the football team?
There is a co-op now, yeah.
Okay, so your co-op, your hometown co-op, beat my husband's hometown
Ah.
co-op last weekend. So just pointing that out. So there are not Rolette Comets any longer, but there's North Prairie Cougars. So
Oh, nice.
congratulations.
Appreciate that, yeah. They're doing well this year,
Excellent.
yeah.
So looking to wrap things up, I mean, 20 years ago, this was not here. I mean, and I also asked myself, what would I have been doing if these opportunities had been presented to me? I'm not sure. But I mean, I'm still glad and thankful that I did go to a 4-year college. There's still a place for students to do that. But there's definitely opportunities for other opportunities to get the education you need to engage in our economy. I think it's cool what you guys are bringing to our community. Thank you for what you're doing. It's oftentimes a lot of selfless meetings that you have to be a part of and kind of sometimes bang your head a few times. But as long as there's forward progress, by the next year or something like that, I think it's still good. So I don't know if you have any other closing comments, anybody?
No, just thankful for the opportunity to sit down and just visit a little bit. I mean, this is an opportunity that I'm blessed to be a part of with Mr. Green and you guys and in this capacity, and looking forward to keeping the journey going forward for progress.
Well, and as educators, thank you for being relevant. Thank you for being innovative, and thank you for being passionate and student first. Our community is just so fortunate to have the education team that it has for our students. So thank you all so very much for your leadership.
Yeah. Thank you guys.